Have you ever witnessed this scene? A millennial manager full of genuine enthusiasm is trying to rally the team in a meeting, but at the other end of the table, a few Gen Z employees seem worlds away, their faces lit by the soft glow of their phones. The meeting ends and the manager lets out a sigh, wondering why aren't they fired up? Why don't they have the same drive I did at their age? Is it true? Is Gen Z really the most difficult generation to engage at work? Or is the problem actually in how we're measuring and trying to create engagement in the first place? The data is startling. A 2023 Gallup poll revealed that only 35% of employees under 35 feel genuinely engaged with their jobs. If companies can't crack this engagement code, they risk losing a generation of digital native talent and watching productivity take a nosedive. Today, we're going deep to find out the truth. Is Gen Z truly harder to engage, or are we just missing the signals they're sending? The answer will shape the future of our workplaces. Let's explore the full picture to understand this shift on a deeper level and find solutions that actually work. Subscribe to GENSHIFT so you don't miss this critical analysis. The current state of engagement, a generational low tide. That feeling of disconnect managers are picking up on isn't just in their heads. It's a documented widespread trend, and the data paints a stark picture of a workforce in transition. Employee engagement in the US has hit a 10-year low, a drop driven largely by its youngest members. In just a single year, Gen Z's engagement levels fell by a staggering 5 percentage points. This has given rise to a whole new workplace vocabulary. An incredible 47% of Gen Z workers admit to coasting, doing just enough to get by, while only 40% feel like they're thriving at work. This is the statistical engine powering the quiet quitting movement, where employees do their jobs but refuse to go the extra mile. This isn't about being lazy. It's a symptom of a deep psychological detachment. These are the zombie employees physically at their desks, but mentally and emotionally checked out, a direct result of profound disengagement. The Millennial Mirror. Haven't we heard this song before? Before we label this a uniquely Gen Z problem, it's important to look in the rearview mirror. A decade ago, the corporate world was saying the exact same things about another generation, millennials. The headlines were almost identical. A 2016 Gallup report found that a mere 29% of millennials were engaged at work, and a massive 55% were not engaged, making them the least engaged generation of their time. They were stereotyped as entitled job hoppers who lacked loyalty and demanded constant purpose. The crucial difference between then and now isn't the what, the feeling of detachment, but the why, and most importantly, the leverage. Millennials entered a brutal job market after the 2008 recession. They had few options. They often had to take traditional in-office jobs and show loyalty just to get a foot in the door. For them, things like flexibility and purpose were nice-to-haves. Gen Z, on the other hand, came of age in a post-pandemic world defined by labor shortages and the Great Resignation, where remote work became the norm. The gig economy and side hustles went from being hobbies to legitimate career paths. This gives Gen Z unprecedented market power. The workplace benefits that millennials could only dream of, Gen Z can now demand. Their disengagement isn't a sign of a weaker work ethic. It's a strategic withdrawal of their energy when their higher market-supported expectations aren't met. Let's break down the fundamental shifts in attitude between these two generations during their formative early career years. When it comes to motivation, early career millennials were primarily purpose-driven, seeking meaningful work that aligned with their personal values. In contrast, Gen Z is fundamentally wellness-driven, prioritizing mental health, clear boundaries, and avoiding burnout at all costs. Their views on career paths also diverge. Millennials saw their careers as a collaborative ladder, valuing teamwork and steady progression within a single company. Gen Z, however, adopts an independent portfolio mindset, viewing their career as a collection of skills and experiences, often with an entrepreneurial spirit. This extends to how they want feedback. Millennials appreciated structured and supportive feedback through formal reviews and mentorship. Gen Z demands something far more immediate, instant and direct feedback, often delivered through informal digital channels. Even loyalty has been redefined. For millennials, it was conditional. They would stay with a company for growth and a good manager. For Gen Z, loyalty is purely transactional, given not to the organization, but to their own personal growth and value alignment. And finally, their relationship with technology. Millennials were digitally fluent, adapting to new workplace technologies as they were introduced. But Gen Z are true digital natives, and they expect workplace tech to be as seamless and intuitive as the consumer apps they use every day. Deconstructing the why, the four forces, eroding engagement. To really get to the bottom of this engagement crisis, we have to look at the forces that created it. It's not one single thing, but a perfect storm of four powerful trends that have completely reshaped the experience of starting a career. Force 1, the connection deficit and the lonely onboarding. The first force is the breakdown of human connection. A huge number of Gen Z started their careers during the pandemic onboarded through a screen alone in their homes. This has created a massive social deficit. The workplace has historically been the second most common place people make close friends, but that's changing fast for young workers. The data is clear. Gallup reports a huge drop among workers under 35 in feeling that someone at work cares about me as a person. This isn't a small thing. McKinsey found that 81% of employees under 35 were worried about loneliness from long-term remote work. Without the personal bonds that are built through casual chats, shared lunches, and getting through challenges together, the psychological glue that ties an employee to a company just dissolves. Work becomes a transaction, and loyalty becomes a calculation, not a feeling. Force 2, the expectation-reality gap and rapid disillusionment. The second force is the jarring crash between high expectations and a much duller reality. Gen Z comes into the workforce ready to make an impact and climb the ladder fast, with some studies showing 70% expect a promotion in the first 18 months. They've been told to follow their passion and have grown up watching the curated highlight reels of instant career success on social media. But what they often find is entry-level work that feels administrative and totally disconnected from the grand purpose they were sold. This creates a painful gap. A CNBC survey found that Gen Z reports having the least meaningful work and the least autonomy compared to older generations. This isn't just impatience, it's a deep sense of being let down. When the job doesn't match the mission statement, they feel misled. This gap is a huge driver of their disengagement and their high desire to quit, with 42% having thought about leaving their job in the last 3 months. Force 3, the attention economy and the rise of the portfolio career. The third force is the redefinition of what a career even is. For Gen Z, a 9-to-5 job is often just one piece of a bigger life portfolio. They are the most entrepreneurial generation ever, with half hoping to start their own business. They see their professional life not as a straight line up a single corporate ladder, but as a collection of skills, experiences, side hustles, and passion projects. This completely changes the engagement contract. Their main loyalty is often to their own personal brand and growth, not to one company. This explains the coasting trend. Many are doing the bare minimum at their day job to get the stable income that funds their real passions. They are strategically saving their best creative and mental energy for their own ventures, treating the main job as just a means to an end. Force 4, the leadership mismatch and the failure of old school management. The final and maybe most critical force is a major mismatch in leadership style. Many managers, especially from older generations, are using a playbook that is actively harmful to Gen Z. Authoritarian, low feedback, and purely KPI-driven management doesn't just fail to motivate them, it actively demotivates them. Gallup research shows that a manager is responsible for up to 70% of their team's engagement. For Gen Z, a leader who doesn't give frequent, meaningful feedback or show genuine care is a roadblock to their development. Gallup data shows a steep drop in Gen Z feeling their opinions count at work, or that they have regular talks about their progress. They want coaching, transparency, and empathetic leaders who see them as whole people, not just cogs in a machine. When they don't get that, they check out. The engagement redefinition. It's not apathy. It's a different currency. This brings us to the core of our analysis. The common story is that Gen Z is simply disengaged. But what if the problem isn't a lack of engagement, but our failure to see it? What if we've been trying to measure a new currency with an old ruler? From performative enthusiasm to purposeful action. For years, engagement was often confused with performative enthusiasm, cheering the loudest at company meetings, staying late without being asked, or showing up to every happy hour. Gen Z largely rejects this. Their engagement isn't for show, it's for a purpose. They might seem indifferent to a corporate mixer, but they will be intensely focused on a project that aligns with their values or has a real positive impact. Companies like the fashion retailer Altered State see incredible engagement from their Gen Z staff with their Mission Mondays, where 10% of sales go to local charities, an initiative employees are genuinely proud of. You can think of this as a highly developed relevance filter. As digital natives, Gen Z has spent years scrolling through platforms like TikTok, training their brains to decide in a split second what's worth their attention. They bring that same filter to work. A meeting with no clear agenda, a task with no clear why, or a team-building event that feels forced is mentally swiped away as irrelevant. The behavior that managers see as disinterest, looking at a phone seeming distant, is the real-world version of that swipe. It's not disrespect. It's a deeply ingrained habit for protecting their most valuable resource, their attention. To engage Gen Z, the content of the work has to be compelling and its purpose has to be clear from the very beginning. The business case, the ROI of cracking the code. Adapting to this new definition of engagement isn't just about being nice, it's a strategic necessity with a clear return on investment. The evidence is undeniable. Gallup's research consistently shows that business units with highly engaged employees are 23% more profitable, 17% more productive, and have much lower turnover. Investing in what drives Gen Z engagement, purpose, growth, and connection isn't a cost. It's a direct investment in your company's health, innovation, and bottom line. So what do you think? Is Gen Z truly harder to motivate, or do they just demand a different kind of engagement? If you're a manager, what have you seen work? And if you're Gen Z, what's the one thing a company does that makes you feel genuinely fired up about your job? Drop your experiences in the comments below. We want to hear from every single perspective. The Playbook for a Multigenerational Win 5 Strategic Pillars. Understanding the why is the first step. Taking action is the next. For leaders ready to adapt, here is a 5-part playbook built on proven strategies to boost engagement, not just for Gen Z, but for everyone in your multi-generational workforce. Pillar 1, empower through active listening and co-creation. Forget the old suggestion box. Gen Z doesn't just want to be heard. They want to be co-creators of their workplace. As McKinsey puts it, this generation speaks loud and you have to listen. This means moving from passive listening to active empowerment. Leaders can use modern anonymous feedback tools that allow for honest input without fear. They can hold brainstorming sessions where the most junior team members are intentionally asked to speak first. Most importantly, when a change is made because of employee feedback, it needs to be communicated widely. This shows their voice has a real impact, creating a powerful cycle of trust and engagement. Pillar 2, build clarity with mentorship and transparent career paths. To fight the connection deficit and satisfy the hunger for growth, companies need to build clear and supportive development plans. Traditional 5-year career plans feel vague and irrelevant to a generation used to instant feedback. Instead, companies should create transparent short-term career maps that show potential progress over 6 to 12 months. This provides the sense of quick, visible momentum that Gen Z needs. Mentorship is also vital. Pairing Gen Z employees with experienced millennial or Gen X mentors can rebuild the social connections lost to remote work. An even more powerful tool is reverse mentoring. Pairing senior leaders with Gen Z employees to learn about new tech, digital trends, and cultural shifts is a game changer. It not only upskills leadership, but also validates Gen Z's expertise, bridges generational divides, and makes them feel deeply valued and seen. Pillar 3, foster a culture of purpose and continuous recognition. Engagement skyrockets when employees see a clear line from their daily tasks to a bigger mission. Leaders must become expert storytellers, constantly connecting the what of a project to the why of the company's purpose or its positive impact on the world. This turns everyday tasks into meaningful contributions. Just as important is moving from annual reviews to continuous recognition. Gen Z operates on a real-time feedback loop. Companies like EY have found success with platforms like Extraordinary You, which allows for instant peer-to-peer recognition that can be rewarded within 24 hours and shared on social media. This approach fits perfectly with Gen Z's digital nature and their need for immediate validation. Pillar 4, diversify engagement initiatives and leverage technology. The one-size-fits-all company picnic is a thing of the past. True engagement in a diverse workforce requires personalization. Companies should offer a menu of engagement options that appeal to different personalities and values. This could include paid time off for volunteering company-sponsored online gaming tournaments, internal hackathon challenges with real prizes, or stipends for wellness and personal development. Technology is the key. Internal communication platforms should feel less like a corporate intranet and more like a private social network with dedicated channels, interactive polls, and a more informal tone that feels natural to a generation that communicates in memes and GIFs. Pillar 5, train a new breed of leader, the empathetic coach. Ultimately, everything comes back to the manager. The single most powerful strategy any company can use is to upskill its frontline leaders. The command and control manager must be replaced by the empathetic coach. Companies must invest in leadership training that focuses on emotional intelligence, active listening, psychological safety, and coaching skills. Managers need to learn how to lead whole human beings, not just track metrics. As one 25-year-old manager noted, her breakthrough came when she learned to adapt to her team members' unique styles instead of forcing her own on them. Millennial managers especially must be coached to let go of any "I had it tough, so they should too" mindset and embrace a more supportive approach that unlocks Gen Z's potential. Conclusion: the future is flexible, transparent, and human. So after this deep dive, are Gen Z really harder to engage? The evidence points to a clear no. They are, however, harder to fool and more demanding of what is worthy of their engagement. They aren't inherently disloyal. They are simply loyal to a different, more modern set of principles: authentic purpose, transparent growth, and holistic well-being. This isn't a Gen Z problem that needs to be fixed. It is a preview of the future of work. Their expectations, supercharged by technology and a new economic reality, are speeding up a necessary evolution toward more human-centered workplaces. In the long run, HR policies will become hyper-personalized. The annual review will be completely replaced by continuous real-time feedback, and the definition of a good job will be permanently recalibrated from just a salary to a complex equation that includes flexibility, impact, and mental health. The companies that get this are not just navigating a generational challenge, they are building an unbeatable competitive advantage. By cracking the engagement code, they are unlocking the immense creativity, passion, and digital ingenuity of this generation. This evolution driven by Gen Z will ultimately create a more engaging, productive, and humane workplace for everyone, including the millennials and Gen Xers who wanted these very same things all along. What are your thoughts now? Has this changed your perspective? Let us know in the comments. And for more deep dives that help you navigate the future of work, make sure you subscribe to GenShift and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what's next.